Thank you very much, Chair. I have to say, having not been fortunate enough to go to university, I do realise the importance and the critical difference both to the economic and social future for our country what third level education provides. It's a driver of social mobility, and we're educating more children with less money each year. And I have enormous respect for the thousands of teachers, lecturers, assistants working to educate our children. The parents across our country are dedicated to providing a better life for our children, and most parents hope and work hard to ensure that their children have a better life than they had. It is up to this government to work with them for their children's future by fixing the budgetary mess that's left behind to us. We recognise that there are problems with Susie, and Minister Quinn has apologised last night, and I actually welcome the manner he spoke here last night and recognised the difficulties and that it would work. But having worked with the City of Dublin VEC for many years, I know Jacinta Stewart and her staff will move heaven and earth to fix these problems and provide students with their grant. And if there's anything I will do, I also will assist. We saw similar issues with the centralisation of medical cards, and the system adapted, changed, and the problems were fixed. And I certainly hope and believe this will be the last time we will see those problems with Susie. This country is in the grip of the greatest economic crisis. We're borrowing nearly $14 billion this year to maintain services above what we raise in taxes. And the opposition is failing to recognise the radical reforms that are taking place in education, despite the need to reduce expenditure in the coming budget by at least $70 million. Government is committed to maintaining the number of special needs assistants, spending $1.3 billion a year on special needs education. We have a countrywide school building programme, making sure that students of the future have a classroom they need. We're invested in local jobs and communities. And certainly when I was a councillor, we were looking into fields where classrooms were promised. Yet in the biggest economic recession we have, this government can start to provide the classrooms that are needed for the next generation. And that's what planning is. We are overhauling the junior cert to make it fit for purpose for the 21st century. Something talked about for decades, what we are doing. We're rolling out high-speed broadband in schools across the country, connecting pupils to the world. Minister Quinn is committed to improving literacy and numeracy skills, the building blocks of any education system. And as an urban deputy, I have seen that ignored in many underprivileged areas where they didn't get an opportunity to get a proper second-level education, never mind to get inside the precious gates of university, which I believe is their right. Deputy Nolan then for about the USI campaign, and one of the deputies that's been targeted by it. I actually welcome it, and I hope it broadens out into a further where we fight the battle for everybody having access to education. But when they come to me, and I have to say the vast majority that has come, and I've spoken to many, has spoken about a vision for education for the future. And they have a broader vision rather than just at the current problem. And certainly I have come away the wiser. But I have to tell them the truth. I tell them registration fees will increase by €250 each year on 2015 until they reach 3,000. And I tell them I will work and try to maintain it at that, but there is a need for certainty. I tell them we're committed to ensuring that over 40% of students will qualify for the maintenance grant and not pay registration fees. I tell them our current budget deficit is 8.5% of GDP, meaning we're borrowing nearly $14 million to fund the day-to-day expenditure of our tax revenue. Every extra euro we borrow is money they will have to pay off the national debt and our children as things are going. I tell them my priorities is ensuring the maximum amount of resources are targeted at primary and secondary level. And in my community, I've seen them ignored for decades. I've seen young children arriving in at secondary education with no literary skills. Too many students in my community from disadvantaged backgrounds fall behind at all the early stages, never having the opportunity to reach third-level education. This is where I want to see scarce resources targeted. I believe it is better to be honest and upfront about the difficult decisions which we must take as a party to restore our country's fortune during a time of deep deep economic recession. And I say this, and Deputy, you moved the motion in good faith, and I know there's many good young Fianna Fáil TDs with clear vision for the future, and it is, obsession it is. But unfortunately, I can't really take it seriously when I listen to Deputy Martin speaking in this House, the very man that sat at the cabinet table, that sold this country down the river. So I think maybe you should look at yourselves very carefully, because there's no credibility. Deputy Martin has absolutely no credibility. Thank you, Chair.